You don't see that chemistry we had before. I mean, especially last year. I think that chemistry was at the top. Everybody, but chemistry builds not right away. So it's a long process.
Kyrie will become a free agent at the end of this season. SA, should the Mavs want Kyrie with Luka long term?
Listen, I think based on what we've seen, yeah. Listen, you can't blame Kyrie for what has happened in Dallas. Let's be very, very clear about that. I will come to his defense on that. He has shown up. He has played. I've spoken to the Dallas Mavericks. He's been a model citizen. He hasn't caused any issues whatsoever. Okay, the issue is Luka, first of all, the numbers are there, but he looks depressed all the time. He ain't been right all season. He's one of the few players I've seen actually got heavier as the season has progressed. He was in better shape at the start of the season than he's been during the season. I don't understand what's going on with him. But the other thing is losing Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, you compromise yourself defensively. You have no defenders. That's the problem. The Dallas Mavericks cannot stop a cold. It's that simple. And if they had any kind of defense, this wouldn't be a problem. Offensively, they're not an issue. It's their defense. And so when I look at it from that perspective, certainly you want to bring other things about Kyrie into consideration based on history and whether or not you trust him. That's a different discussion. But what we're talking about now is since Kyrie Irving has arrived, what you've seen from the Dallas Mavericks. You can't point the finger at him. He hasn't been the problem with the Dallas Mavericks. I can tell you that much. It's that they can't stop any damn body. They have no depth. They barely have legitimate starters, for crying out loud. Because you're looking at them. Tim Hardaway Jr. can play, obviously, with Kyrie, with Luka as well. But you got the Dwight Powell and others. You're just looking at their roster. And right now, if you're Nico Harrison, who I'm a fan of, I got a lot of love for him. I'm wishing him nothing but the best. I've known him for years. But it's a regrettable move on two fronts, doggy. Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, two bodies that are gone that could defend for you because they were better defensively with them there, and losing Jalen Brunson,
right,
who is a star in this league. None of that has anything to do with Kyrie Irving. That's not his fault. I can't blame him for what has happened in Dallas.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to blame him because that's what I guess he's 4-11. That's the bottom line, Steve. They're 4-11 since the trade. They've lost 11 of 15 games since Kyrie Irving got to Dallas. And let's not forget, this same roster.
Actually, 8-16. 8-16.
Even worse.
8-16.
Even worse. Oh, even worse. Thank you. And number two, last year, the same roster got to a conference final.
Yeah.
And beat the one seed Suns.
Yes.
But I think, how about giving Cuban a little blame? I mean,
yes.
He let Nash.
I agree with that.
He let Nash go, which was a disaster, an Hall of Fame point guard, and he blew up the Nowitzki combination when he let him go. He didn't re-sign him. He let Brunson go, who not only was the guy that got them through the first round last year against Utah. Remember, Doncic was hurt. Brunson won that series.
Yes.
And then number three, he makes the Kyrie trade, screws up the chemistry of the team, albeit not playing great prior, but screws up the chemistry of the team. They're 8-16, and now he's got to pay him $40-50 million a year.
He doesn't have to.
I mean, maybe the guy that we should blame is Cuban more so than blaming the player. But listen, be fair, Stevie. Be fair. Since the ball was in the air against the Warriors in Game 7, be fair. Every time you turn around, Kyrie's teams have imploded. Celtics, Nets, Dallas.
Fair.
Strike one, strike two, strike three.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
He's got to take some blame
No,
for that.
no, that's what I've been saying. But the point is that that's why it's important to point out this, because we've seen him have a direct negative impact in other situations. That's not the case here. You're looking at Luka. Luka's giving press conferences, man. He's looking depressed all season long. He just looks like it's stuff going on off the court that's affecting him. Now, it doesn't affect his numbers, but it affects his ability to galvanize and lead. And that's why when the Kyrie Irving trade took place, you had everybody saying, we're going to find out about Luka. The reason why they were saying we're going to find out about Luka is because Luka was the one clamoring for an additional offensive weapon.
But the question was, is Kyrie to blame? That was the question.
Should they want him long term?
You and I both agree, Cuban. They didn't put the team together right. But Steve, as Bill Parcells always said, and he's a Hall of Famer, 2 Super Bowls, you are what your record says you are. And since they brought Kyrie into Dallas, be fair. Since they brought Kyrie into Dallas, they've lost 16 of 24. That's it.
Well,
there's nothing else to say. And they're not going to make the playoffs.
I don't understand why so many people are blaming Kyrie Irving. There's not much more he can do. He's averaged 27 points per game on 51% shooting for the Dallas Mavericks this season. It's not his fault that the Dallas Mavericks have no defense. He didn't get to choose who he was traded for. It doesn't matter what happened in Brooklyn and in Boston. We're talking about this season, and Kyrie Irving has played great basketball. The Mavericks' problems have nothing to do with him. Kyrie wasn't brought there for his defense. They traded for Kyrie to give Luka another offensive weapon, a guy that can make plays when he goes to the bench and occasionally take the ball out of his hands so he doesn't have to do everything. And he's done exactly what the Mavericks have asked for. It's such a lazy argument to blame Kyrie, and if you notice, everyone that does has no evidence for Kyrie doing anything wrong in Dallas. They go back to Brooklyn and Boston. Well, Kyrie doesn't play for the Brooklyn Nets or Boston Celtics anymore. Whatever happened there has nothing to do with what's happening right now. In fact, Kyrie played well in Brooklyn when he was on the court. The problem was he wasn't on the court enough and they didn't trust him. So that has nothing to do with the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving has been on the court the majority of the time. Their problems have nothing to do with him not playing or playing poorly. Their problems have everything to do with their roster and how bad their defense is. Kyrie wasn't brought there to be a lockdown defender. He never has been, he never will be. He was brought there to be Kyrie Irving, and to expect anything else would be foolish by the Dallas Mavericks. They weren't expecting him to be a great defender. They thought they had the pieces necessary to make the playoffs, and they just don't. I just don't understand how you can watch the Dallas Mavericks and find a way to pin it on Kyrie. It doesn't make any sense. I don't care what happened in Boston, and I don't care what happened in Brooklyn. If you ask the Dallas Mavericks, they've loved Kyrie on the court and off the court this season. It's clear that he's done his job. That's all you can ask him to do. But that's all I have for this video. Let me know in the comments, is Kyrie to blame for the Dallas Mavericks problems? And leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more NBA content just like this, and I will see you in the next upload.